Hello everyone, my name is Christian Eschbach, and welcome to another one of my album reviews. Hi there everyone, today is Easter Sunday that I'm recording this on April 9th, 2023. Working on actually redesigning my bedroom right now, the upper area where I do all my filming. Some of you may have seen some of this already, some of you may not have. There's little bits behind me that have been moved around. Anyways, that is not the point of the story. The point of this story is Bruce Dickinson, Tyranny of Souls. Oh yeah, that's right. So, I did not know this album existed until 5 months ago, give or take. I've been borrowing my buddy Drew's copy since then. I'll be honest, I don't think I've had it for 5 months. It might only be about 3, if that. I've listened to it quite a few times now, nowhere near as much as I've listened to some of the other albums. So let's just get into the music here on an album I did not know existed until recently, and at this point is bordering on close to 20 years old, released in 2005. So the album opens up with Mars Within, in brackets, intro. I haven't done any research on this album to see if it is a concept album. The way that this kind of sets it up like maybe it is a concept album. Who knows? Realistically, if it's a concept album, I'll correct myself in the sections that I pop up on the screen. But it doesn't hit enough to me on, my multiple listens to say full out it's a concept album, but it hits enough to say that it's kind of maybe a loose one, sort of, possibly. There's a few things I'm going to bring up as I go through here to get into it a little bit more. Next song up is called Abduction. Believe it or not, this is one of those songs when I'm listening to it, it's not a bad tune, but I found myself multiple times all of a sudden going, wait, I missed a song, and going back and having to re-listen to it again. It's kind of one of those songs. When I was listening to it while I was taking notes, and this is why I have to take notes on some songs, especially albums that are newer for me, this really feels like something kind of out of Accident of Birth, the album Accident of Birth. Leftovers from the album, maybe, almost kind of like they were cobbled together bits and pieces of other songs. Road to Hell is kind of the one that makes me think of the most on here, but it's not entirely Road to Hell, because when you get in the solo, there's definitely some elements that sound a little Maiden-ish. But this album does a really good job of not sounding Maiden, even though this is right after 2 large Maiden reunion albums. This is after Brave New World and after Dance of Death. I believe it was before the album that came after that, which I cannot for the life of me remember the name of right now. It's one of the albums I don't own. My buddy Drew burned me a copy eons ago. It's not a bad album, but I definitely don't listen to it anywhere near what I should. Overall, though, if the song's not playing, I forget about it, which I've already kind of stressed. Okay, after that, we go into Soul Intruders. The intro sounds exactly like Annihilator's Welcome to Your Death to me. Absolutely. It runs, I don't know, about 20 seconds, give or take. And then it slips into what I would consider kind of like an early 90s rocker kind of thing. It's got a really kind of catchy kind of chorus. Pretty decent song, but it definitely feels dated. Going back to that kind of early 90s rocker kind of thing. Then we get Kill Devil Hill. This one also makes this album almost feel a little bit like sequel to Chemical Wedding. A little more leaning into I was kind of wondering if this was or wasn't a concept album, because if it is a sequel or a follow-up to Chemical Wedding, which was a concept album, it would make sense. And there are definitely elements in here in certain lyrics on certain songs that kind of feel that way, but I'm not sure. This is gonna be one of those ones where when in editing, I'm gonna be looking it up, and then who knows how many corrections I'm gonna be putting up on this damn screen. um, Now, going with that, the first two songs definitely feel like they're leftovers more from the Accident of Birth era. This one definitely feels a lot more Chemical Wedding, as I just mentioned, but the production on it is a little bit lighter. The production on Chemical Wedding really had the album sounding really thick, full, dark, heavy. This one still kind of feels thick and full, but it doesn't have that dark and heavy. This one just leans a little more, we'll say, into the lighter side, a little more. I don't want to say enjoyable or fluffy because that's wrong. It's just not happy, kind of, maybe, not really. I'm not sure. It's just a lighter production. That's the easiest way to say. Yeah. This is a horrible analogy, but instead of sounding like Maiden, sounding like Journey production wise, okay? Just, maybe I don't know. I really don't know. Or 80s Maiden, late 80s Maiden, maybe. Maybe a little bit with the production. I don't know how to put it. It sounds lighter. The keys, it just sounds lighter. All right. And then there's this really cool musical outro on it that I kind of dig and get into. I kind of like the way it just kind of flows out of the song. After that, we get into Navigate the Seas of the Sun. This one's a bit different, especially for what I'm used to from Bruce. Whether he's with solo or with Maiden, especially at this particular time. There's been some stuff from Maiden since then that has some essences of this. But really, really, this is kind of a little bit different. And it really stands out for that reason. I actually kind of really enjoyed it because it was something different from Bruce. This one's kind of got this great acoustic vibe to it. It's really warm, soft, reflective. Not in a bad way, not in a mushy way, just in a good way, like where it doesn't feel like, you've got Wasted Years as an example of kind of negative-ish sort of reflection in the music, even in the lyrics, the Wasted Years, even though it's got some great catchy chorus that's vibrant when you sing it live, it sounds great. The song itself is a little more downer. This one, on the other hand, is a little more upper. Kind of reminds me, once again, we're going back to that kind of early 90s vibe. I was thinking kind of Extreme a little bit. I've mentioned that a few times when you get into Extreme's kind of more acoustic-y stuff, or even Tesla's kind of more acoustic-y stuff. Kind of in that realm, sort of. Depending on how you feel about that stuff. I mean, credit where credit's due. And then when you get in towards the end of the song, or the solo sections and stuff like that, the guitar work is fantastic. Some beautiful guitar work in this one, man. Some different styles and textures and stuff like that. It really sounds nice. River of No Return has a really singable chorus, but it's kind of basic. With everything I've already said, it doesn't. At this point in the album definitely takes on more of a rock kind of vibe to me. A little less of that metal, especially considering, as I already mentioned, back with Maiden at that point. So feels like it's, Bruce has always gone a little more rock with his solo stuff until he did Accident of Birth and Chemical Wedding. This one feels like, he had a few songs left over from then, or he had a story that was left over from then, and he decided to work it out into one more album. Maybe he owed the record company one more album, I'm not sure. Another thing I should point out at this point is this album is done with Roy Z, who he did do both Accident of Birth and Chemical Wedding. So and he produced this album like he produced those, and basically the album was written by the two of them. So it really does show change and growth in music styles compared to those albums, and that is something you always want to hear. No matter how much I downplay certain songs or say to certain songs. So when I say River of No Return, a singable chorus, but a bit basic, it is a bit basic, but it's a bit basic kind of for this album. It's a bit basic considering the time period that this album reminds me a lot of. slick production, but 90s kind of vibe going on, you know. Actually, comparable to the Hey Stupid album, maybe, production wise. So, like, say around 90, 91, 92 ish. Yeah, that feels about right. Um, then we got, okay, so let's get back to the music. Power of the Sun. This one, this is one of those songs where I think it could have been a better song if they had just slowed it down a little bit. The song, honestly, it feels like they rushed it. The way it's played feels like when you're playing live on stage. I've talked about this recently in other reviews. When a band plays live on stage, they tend to speed up the tempo a little bit. Most bands, when they speed up the tempo, it's usually about 5 beats a minute. 10 is getting a little quick. This song, it really feels like they're at 10 to 15 beats per minute faster than it should be if they'd slowed it down just the right amount. Maybe not even a full 10 to 15, maybe even only 5 beats per minute if they slowed it down. It would have been a little sharper, or, you know, like maybe 10 beats per minute in the verses and then 5 beats per minute in the choruses or something. It would have been a lot tighter than it is. Like I said, this one just feels really rushed. Feels like it could have been a better song. Devil on a Hog. This one heavy and chunky. That's the best way I know how to put it. It is really kind of heavy and chunky. Love the riffing on this one. Big time heavy rock tune. Once again, I guess comparing it towards Alice Cooper's Hey Stupid production-wise sounds close to about right. There are some other albums I'm trying to think of from that time period. Damn Yankees, a little bit comes to mind. Their first studio album, maybe even the second one. Definitely the first one. It's really kind of hard to say a little bit on that. Just, you know. After that, we get into Believe All. Evil, believe evil, believal. Okay, fun, but yeah. Enjoyable while the song is playing. While the song's playing, I really kind of get into it, really enjoy it going in the background. However, I really don't think much of it otherwise. It's not a bad tune. It's just, yeah, it's there. And then the album finishes with Tyranny of Souls. Okay, so as I mentioned, this album came out in 2005. I only discovered it recently. And the reason why I make sure to point this out is somewhere along the way, one day after watching this review, and if you find my band, The Howling Odyssey, in our uploaded music that's on YouTube, there's a song in there called The Three Witches. And I'm not saying this to plug it. I'm saying this because it's an honest thing that's come up. It's not the first time that's come up with that, you know, music and stuff like that. It goes with the whole idea of you can accidentally plagiarize or accidentally steal an idea without intending to steal the idea. And the reason why is I'm a huge Shakespeare fan. If you look over into the corner over there, you're going to see a little statue. That is actually a statue of William Shakespeare. I'm a huge Shakespeare fan. Always have loved Shakespeare ever since I was in grade 10 and I went and saw Shakespeare live for the very first time in Stratford. Reason I bring all this up is Macbeth is my favorite of his plays. I got to see it live. I absolutely was just enamored with it live. So thrilled with it live at the Stratford Festival in Stratford, Ontario, Canada. And the Witch's intro has something I've always loved, that whole "When shall we meet again?" And when my band was recording a song, we didn't know what we were gonna do for it, lyric wise or whatnot. And when we started putting it together, I thought that intro would be perfect to put in there over top of the music. So myself, my buddy Drew, and the lead guitarist Jay at the time, we took turns doing The Three Witches in there, and it was fantastic. It was a good time. It sounded really good on there. And Bruce does it on here, and it sounds really good on here. So that's the whole story with this as to why I bring up that whole thing. because Bruce does that whole intro or a good chunk of that intro, and it sounds really cool. It's really done well on here. But then it goes into the actual song. And the actual song, the intro is just that. It's an intro. The actual song itself is absolutely fantastic. I totally dig on the song. It gets really good, really, really in there, really enjoyable. Um, and it's a really fantastic album closer. The only complaint would be it's kind of like everything else on this album. Now, the nice part about this album is, like I said, you can hear growth in here, but at the same time, there's definite elements in here that are, without a doubt, Bruce Dickinson, without a doubt, Roy Z working with Bruce Dickinson, and you can hear it the whole way through. I really do hope that Bruce doesn't do any more solo albums. It could happen, but I really hope he doesn't. And it's nothing against his solo album. It's just with what he's done with Maiden on the last couple albums, which have been very much definitely heavier Bruce influenced albums compared to in older days and stuff like that. I I think it's time. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Bruce really, I don't want to say he should retire, but he really should start thinking about it. I love my rock gods, but some of them, they're getting too close to the edge. I saw Maiden with Tracy live on the Legacy of the Beast tour when they were in Toronto back before COVID, a while before COVID, and the summer before COVID, actually. It was the summer before COVID. And they were fantastic. I absolutely love them. You could hear they had to make changes. And there's definitely certain songs that they're picking. When they pick them, they either have to go into a lower key on them or they have to pick songs that are in lower keys because Bruce can't quite hit the range that he used to. And with the throat cancer, that is absolutely forgivable and excusable. But I'm also scared that they might be getting to the point where they're either already using tapes or they're going to go back to or they're going to start using tapes. And I really am not interested in bands using tapes. I know it's a thing, but I'm not interested in it. And one of the reasons why I will always support Alice Cooper still playing live after all these years, even though he's got to be the oldest one regularly touring still, is Alice was smart and he let his voice, he set it up so his voice could get old and do the character still. And you can hear Alice live, let me tell you. You know he's getting up there, but it doesn't sound bad because of the character that he is. It's not the same as Bruce. So, as I'm saying, I really hope this is kind of Bruce's last album. If you want to do like acoustic albums or something like that, go something kind of that way. I know it's kind of cliche for metal guys to kind of go that way afterwards. But if you want to go something more like that, that'd be different. I'd be cool with it. I'd go with it. But for this, yeah. All right, folks, those are my thoughts. Those are my views. Those are my opinions. Let me know what your thoughts, views, and opinions are. That is what the comment section below is for. On your way down there, there is a link to Patreon. Please feel free to click on that. There's a like button, a subscribe button, a little bell for notifications. If you could hit those help me out, help you out, helps everybody out. Peace, love, take care.